Okay.
Just got the notification.
That we're live. That
Yeah.
we're live.
Maybe we live.
All right. So yeah, so we're no, we were like starting our conversation a little bit early, but oh my gosh. All right. So that's how you know it's gonna be a good one though, right?
Right.
So
Right.
happy Monday, right?
Happy
Happy
Monday.
physical wellness Mondays for Dollar Growth Club. All right, Ness. So what are we getting into, girl?
So I do want to recap just a little bit about what we were talking about last week, which was overeating, right? And so everybody that has access to the Dollar Growth Club has the article that we were using. They also have their action steps for the weekend. If you don't have your action steps and you're not plugged in, this is your opportunity to get into the Dollar Growth Club. It's literally right now, right? Is it still less than $1 a day? I know the prices are going up. They,
You know what? Yeah, right now it's at $20 a month, but it's going up
that's a
very
steal.
soon. It's going up very soon. So
Yes,
yeah, they're gonna want to get that. It's
absolutely.
gonna go up
Because
like every week in the month of December.
as it should,
Yeah.
right? As it should. So they're getting the deal right now. Everybody that's in right now, they're grandfathered in, so they got a good deal. But yes,
Mhm.
if you want access, just join Dollar Growth Club. Literally, it's less than $1 a day for now. But we did talk a little bit about overeating and signs of overeating, right? And so there, I think the article we discussed had about 4 or 5 points, but one that stuck out to me that we started discussing briefly was when you wake up in the morning. If you wake up in the morning and you are not hungry, that means you overate the night before. And to me, I was just like, I never really dawned on me to think of it that way, right? Like some days I do wake up super hungry. Other days I'm kind of like, I don't usually eat breakfast until 10 o'clock, but I think that maybe that's how my body has been conditioned. But
Yeah.
I will say sometimes if I eat like bread or even pasta or like carbs,
Yeah.
heavy carbs the night before for dinner, I wake up so hungry the next morning. And that's because our body, when it digests or metabolizes these carbs, it turns straight to, turns to sugar.
Yeah.
And so it gets what it needs and then it's looking for more. Right. And so
Mhm.
that made sense to me. But when I thought about it, I was like, wow, like there are people that wake up that are not hungry, when they wake up. I don't know,
Well, I
but
don't wake up starving. Like, and I
no,
think that's the thing too. So like I know it normally takes me a couple of like hours before
yeah,
I'm really hungry. And I,
yeah,
I think part of it is because like I'm already getting my metabolism started by like moving around,
yep.
doing something active in the morning, right? So it's like I think that's the exchange. And then after I do that, I'm like, oh, I've utilized some
And
energy, I've expended some energy. So now let me get something to eat. But I'm never like starving, like really, really hungry, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get up and eat. Unless it's something hormonal going on. And then that's different. I'm always hungry when the hormones are like raging.
but yeah, like it's I believe in the article they talked about the time frame, right? Because there is a science to when you eat your food, right? The timing of your meals. But it said usually within an hour to 2 hours of waking, you should feel hunger, right? You should have a little, I mean, I don't know to what extent, but you should feel hungry because, you've been sleeping for at least 6 hours and your body was just metabolizing. It was just digesting food. It wasn't doing any other, strenuous activities other than focusing on digesting. So if after 6 hours of strictly digesting, you're still not hungry, then there was a
Like
little bit.
something wrong.
Yeah, there was a lot to digest, I guess, if you look at it
Mm.
that way. But yeah, so
Huh.
that was my
I saw what you
takeaway.
did there. There was a lot to digest. Gotcha.
that was my takeaway from last week,
Mhm.
right? And I was actually part of our homework or our action step was to see if you exhibit any of these signs or behaviors and like work on that during the holiday season. And I will say I made it a point to only do one plate. Like I literally only did one plate. And it wasn't like a piling plate. I did one regular size plate. I took my time eating because that's another thing, right? Like when we eat, we don't give our body time to realize, hey, wait a minute, it's working, right? It's building up. We're getting full until you're too full, right? You're full, you're stuffed. So I took my time eating, and that's how I feel like I didn't eat as much because I made sure to eat slowly,
Yeah.
But that was one of my things that I did for the holiday. I only had one plate and I ate it slow. And I was satisfied, right?
Good. Yeah. No, you know what? I did the same. I eat slow anyway. Like you've been around me eating,
Yeah.
right? And I just am a slow eater. I have my own theories about why though, but yeah, I'm just a slow eater in general. So I'm always like, even if I'm the first one to sit down with a plate, I'm always the last one to leave, and it's like hours, it's like an hour or so later. Always like, so I too only had one plate, but then by me being pescatarian
Yeah.
and there were no like fish options, so I was eating like all the vegetarian
Yep.
things. So I just had a bunch of sides,
Yeah.
and I felt satisfied, felt fine.
Yeah.
Everybody else around me was literally falling asleep and having like I was like, whoa, y'all are like down for the
Yeah.
count. And I was just up. I had energy, like the
Yeah.
food did what it needed to do. So I was just like, I guess we're gonna play Uno now.
Solitaire, something.
Yeah, something. Shoot. So yeah, I also did that. So that's good. Yeah, to not have to like overstuff when you're in the holidays or like around
Yeah.
family. You're like, oh, let me
Yeah.
get seconds and thirds, and oh, it was so good. Let me get more. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Let me get just what I need, and then that's it.
Right. And be satisfied, right? Just be satisfied. We don't have to be stuffed. We can be satisfied. But yeah, today we are going to talk about, because if you know me, I have a really bad, I gotta watch my wording, but I like sweets, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so that's why today we're talking about sugar. And I didn't have any dessert on Thanksgiving Day, but that's because I was, like I said, I ate slow. And then by the time it all had digested, I'm like, yeah, I don't have any room for it right now. Like I don't have a
Okay.
taste for it. But
Now.
every now and then I do have a taste for sweets, right? And so today we are going to just be talking about sugar, right? And so sugar, as you know, and many of us know, sugar is super addicting. It is super addicting. But that is because there's chemicals that, our brain gets that pleasure, a reward, serotonin, and all of those chemicals get released when we ingest sugar, right? And so this article, I'm going to put it in the group, actually came from I think it's called Mind Body Green or something like that.
Yeah,
It's like,
Mind Body Green. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so they have like products, supplements, they do coaching, they do blogs and such like that. So that's where I actually got this from. And before we get started, I have a question for you. This is a trivia. It's just a trivia question, right?
Okay.
What is the daily recommendation of sugar intake in America? You can give it to me as a percentage of your total diet or in like a measurement.
Okay. I think that it is less than I want to say like less than 5%, like twice a week or something like that.
Good. So actually, according to the USDA, right, United States Department of Agriculture, we should be consuming less than 10% of our total diet should be on sugar. And so if you were going to put
daily,
well, yeah, right,
okay.
like less than 10%.
Oh, okay, all right.
So if you were going to quantify that is, I think about 12 teaspoons of sugar a day.
Yeah.
Do you know how much the average American consumes?
Yeah, like 30 times that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
We consume so much more than the recommended. But I will say there are reasons for that, right? So when you think of sugar sugar on when you're looking at a nutrition label, most people just look for the word sugar or added sugars. But sugar can be put in as they have the category sugar, and then they have sugars, which are forms of sugar. So people don't always necessarily equate the two or realize that that is included in your daily sugar intake, the added sugars, right? So you have cane sugar, you have fructose, which comes from your fruit, you have beet sugar, you have corn, like the corn syrups, you have alternative sweeteners, you have maltose. All of those are sugars, right? Yep. And so if you're reading a nutrition label and you see any of those words, those are forms of sugar that are being included in your daily intake, but might not necessarily be calculated consciously, right? And so sometimes they do use the chemical names for it, like they might say glucose.
Code names.
Yeah.
Code names.
Yeah, but I don't know what the reason is for doing it that way. I mean,
because the people don't know the scientific names for things. It's like, if you study this, you might know, like, oh, okay, wow, there's all of these different things. I know what to look for in the ingredients, right?
Right.
But if you're just kind of like, I don't know, that's not your education, or that's not like, you don't have that knowledge yet, it's very easy to slip into it. And it's hard actually to avoid the sugars. The way that though in the standard American diet, right? It's like, it's difficult to avoid it.
It's like, so they'll put dextrose, they'll put up there. That's it's glucose. They'll put maltose. That's another form of sugar. Fructose, like the high fructose corn. And then corn is another sugar. So they have like all of these chemical names that people don't realize. It's just a fancy word for sugar. It's just the chemical name for the type of sugar, like it's sourced, right? Fructose comes from the fruit, like, that's where they get the sucrose. They also have sucrose will be up there sometimes, right? And people don't understand that, but that's why I believe our diets are so high in sugar, or we're consuming so much sugar, is because a lot of people don't know. Yes, you're looking, you say, okay, X amount of sugar, but you're not also looking at the ingredients when you go a little bit further, and it says that it has high fructose corn syrup, it has sucrose, it has such and such dextrose, such and such glucose. Those are all sugars, right? And so
yeah. But I wonder, and this is probably for another conversation, but I wonder how much of that is because, we were talking, like earlier, you mentioned that sugar is highly addictive, and it's been like researched that it's just actually is more addictive, right, than cocaine, right? And so it's like thinking about that. I wonder if that has anything to do with, and again, this is other territory, but I wonder if that has anything to do with why it's in everything, right? It's like, oh, let me put a little bit of some of this little, this sugar that's gonna make you want to come back for more and more and more. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. It makes sense, right? Like
it does. I don't want to make no claims though. I don't make no claims, but I'm just saying, like, it's food for thought, right?
Well, logically, how else are you going to stay in business if you don't have repeat customers? That's the business model. You have to have recurring customers, recurring revenue.
And you can't put your cocaine in your stuff anymore, like how they used to. Back in the day, they used to do that, right? Like okay, anyways, that's amazing, right? Like if people who are watching this, like if you don't know that story, just go look at like Coca-Cola. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Coke, literally,
right? Coke and Coca-Cola.
Soda.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said it was a good idea, and somebody let it go. Somebody,
and it was a good idea, until you realize you had cocaine in your Coke. Anyway.
So all of that, there are some reasons that some people like just crave sugar. And so this article actually talks about 4. One of them was exhaustion. And if you think about it logically, it makes sense, right? So when our bodies are exhausted, they're tired, they're looking for energy. And sugar gives you that quick burst of energy super fast. And so when you're super tired, you just want to boost something to wake you up. And your body's like, get the sugar. Because as soon as you get the sugar, our blood sugar is going to go sky high. We're going to be up. But the problem with that is it's so short-lived. once you metabolize the sugar, it's like you get that spike and then you come back down. And then what happens is your body's looking for that spike again. So it wants more. And so that leads to that cycle of just eating more sugar because you're trying to chase that, energy, or that, I don't want to say high, but you know what I mean? Like you're trying to chase.
Kind of, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that, like, chemically speaking, there's some similarities, right? So, I mean, it's not as extreme, but
It's not,
I mean, it's
right.
kind of in the same family, though, isn't it now? Like, when we think about it.
I mean,
Come
it's
on, Dr. Ness, like,
the reward system. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like our brain thinks of it as a reward. And so we want that reward, right? And we like the feeling of having that burst of energy that sugar gives most of us, right? And so that is one of the reasons that people do, in our society consume more sugar is because, if they're tired, they want to boost, they just grab something really sweet. But there are alternatives. If you are looking for an energy boost, vitamin B is awesome. Any one of the vitamin Bs. There's a whole bunch of vitamin Bs. So even if you look at those,
I like B12.
Yep, cyanocobalamin, that's B12. Yeah. Any one of those, what do you call those? Those energy drinks. They're all filled with vitamin Bs, right? Yeah. And so if you were looking for that, and actually a couple weeks ago, that was one of the extra resources that I put in under the homework section. So if anybody is looking for more information on foods that have high vitamin B content and omega-3, if you're looking for energy, omega-3s are awesome. We talked about that 3 weeks ago, and all of that is also in the group. So go ahead and ask, if you're in the group, you have access to all of that information. So if you're looking for the energy boost, don't reach for sugar, reach for something that is high in omega-3s and vitamin B, any one of the vitamin Bs, right?
Yeah, but can I just put in here for the energy drinks? Because just in supplements, you want to watch out for high levels of caffeine, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so if you have caffeine sensitivity, because caffeine is a drug that, a legal drug that we put into all of these different drinks and things in order to have some energy. And you'll see that like in some of these energy drinks, there'll be high levels of caffeine along with the B vitamins. So just watch that if you're sensitive to caffeine, because for some people it can make them like more anxious. It can cause the rapid heart, beat and all of that stuff. And so you just want to be careful about that. I just want to put that in there because the energy drinks, they do have they're chock full of B vitamins, but also chock full of caffeine a lot of times.
Yeah. This is why reading nutrition labels is so important. I feel like we should have a class on that, or
we can.
Or, you know what I mean? Like just to know, so people know what to look for, where they're looking. Some people don't even know how to calculate the serving size or know like, okay, this thing is, I have one bag of chips, right? And I ate one bag of chips. They think that's one serving. But when you look at the serving size, that one bag has a total of 4 servings in it. So if you ate that whole bag, every single number you see on here, you need to multiply by 4. But
right.
Not everybody knows that. Not everybody knows to do that math or knows that, these are not individual packs of chips. These are like shareable bags of chips, or different servings, right? Or, it'll tell you a serving size is 2 cookies. That doesn't mean you take a handful and that was a serving. No, a serving is 2 cookies. But I think that we should do that. I think that would be actually
that's a great idea. Definitely next week or the week after or something.
Yeah, I'll put that together. I'll put some labels up there, and then we'll probably try to guess what the item is without,
I like it. Okay, yeah, a little trivia. Oh, that's fun. Okay, I like that.
Well, another reason that we in this part of the world overeat sugar is stress, right? There's so many stresses in this world and in this society that sometimes when people are stressed, what they reach for are carbohydrates, right? Because carbs, they release that feel good, that pleasure, that satisfied feeling. And again, the sweets in the carbs break down once it's metabolized to just the sugar. And so if you're living a stressful life, or you have a lot of stressors in your life, you may be prone to reaching for carbs as a comfort or a coping or something to get you through, and if those carbs are simple carbs, you're going to have a high sugar content in those simple carbs. And then again, you're going to feel that satisfaction briefly, and then your body's going to say, oh, go back. I want more of that. Go back. Remember, it made us feel good, even for just a moment. Go back to that. And so that's why we sometimes.
And that shout out to the power, the Power of Habit book, right? Charles Duhigg that we're currently reading, right? Going back to thinking, like referencing the habit loop that we talk about on Tuesdays, right? So that's it in action, y'all.
It really is, right? And so like, if a person is what they call a stress eater, and I don't like using that term, but sometimes people, when they're stressed, they eat. So if a person exhibits that, you can reach for carbs, but go for the complex carbs. Don't go for the simple pastries and things that break down into sugar. Go for the more complex things that are packed with fibers, right? And so like another thing,
you give an example real quick of like what complex,
like a healthier option would be to literally go for a fruit. So, because you're gonna get your fructose, so say an apple, you're gonna go for your fructose, that's gonna give you your sugar, but you're also gonna get the fiber from the skin of the apple, and the fiber is fiber is good for the digestion. It slows down the time it takes for you to digest things, so you feel full or satisfied longer. So you're not like it's not going through your digestive system so fast that you're like, okay, it's empty, I need something else. It's like, nope, it's slowly going down. It's taking time to metabolize. And then a couple hours go by and then you're hungry again, or you're looking for a snack again. So the fibers are actually good for that. There is a, I'll get into that. But yeah, so like you could go reach for fruits. If you have to have something sweet during the stressful time, reach for fruits, because the fruits do have fructose, which is the naturally occurring sugars that our bodies can use, right? And bananas are also really good. Berries are really good for you. Oranges, they have the vitamin C in them as well. So all of those are good options if you have to have something, a sugar. Get your sugar through your fructose. But there's another theory out there. I'm going to make sure I'm saying the theory right. It's called the gut flora centric theory of hunger. Have you heard of that?
About your bacteria and influencing your cravings?
Yes, that's exactly what it is, right? And so if anybody is
sorry, no, can you explain it?
No, that's exactly what it is. So it's basically saying, right, that the gut flora is just a fancy word for bacteria. So your gut bacteria is what determines when you eat and what you're eating. So our guts have bacteria, good bacteria, and then not so good bacteria. If there's an overgrowth of the not so good bacteria, then you get put on medicine to get rid of that. But you do need the bacteria to get things moving and to digest things, right? So we need the bacteria in our body. But the thing is, when you're feeding that bacteria, it's happy, right? It's happy. But if there's something missing, that bacteria will let you know. And so that's why sometimes your body's like, oh, I need something. You have a craving for something if your gut bacteria is not being satisfied. So sometimes they say if you're lacking something in your diet or what you're eating, if your gut bacteria is not getting it, it's looking for energy quick. And it knows in order to get quick energy, sugar is going to do that for you. So you'll start to crave sugar because your gut bacteria is like, I need energy quick, go get some sugar. And so that is one of the theories behind why we sometimes overeat, or that can contribute to why we overeat sugar in our system or our society, is if our gut bacteria isn't getting what it needs and it wants that burst of energy, it's going to tell you, you know what you need? You need some sugar right now. And so you get that craving.
Does it also work the same though, if you have the wrong or the bad types of bacteria overpopulating your digestive systems that are also having you craving other things? So, whereas if you've got good bacteria that like, I need this thing, and right to what you're talking about, but then on the other hand, what if, the foods that the bacteria that you're getting from what you're ingesting, right, is actually causing you to have other cravings that are not helpful for your body? Then do we now say, okay, well, we're gonna now go get some probiotics and get, new good bacteria to kind of like balance it out? Like, is that included in this, or is that a thing?
It didn't say that it was. I think this was talking mainly of your good bacteria, right? That theory focuses on the good bacteria. But you're right. So H. pylori, that's an
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So sometimes that bacteria, okay. So one of the symptoms, without getting too into it, is certain foods will make your stomach stop hurting because that bacteria wants that food. But if you don't have that certain food, that bacteria is upset and you'll get a really, really bad stomach ache with that H. pylori. And that's because you're not feeding that bacteria what it wants. But that's
Yeah.
not a good bacteria we want anyways,
No,
right?
that's a horrible, but
Yeah,
yeah, we
that's a
don't
whole
need
nother story. But
that.
you're right. There are some bacteria that are like, oh, I'm satisfied. Keep eating that. You're not going to feel that pain because you're feeding me. Oh, you stopped feeding me? You're going to feel this pain because now I'm upset, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, there is that balance between good and bad bacteria. And
We have to talk about that too, like at some point, like just dedicate time to, the intestinal flora and good bacteria, bad bacteria, and all that stuff. Because I discovered that as an adult after taking like a number of months course of antibiotics and having to completely repopulate, right, and completely having to repopulate my intestinal flora. So I'm passionate about actually this particular topic, but anyway, we gotta.
I mean, the probiotics are the bacteria, that's the living organisms. But another thing we can do is you can do what they call prebiotics, and prebiotics they come from the plants, right? And so if you're looking for a prebiotic, you want to feed that gut. Again, you just go to the apples, you go to the bananas, you go right, and those are prebiotics. They have the fiber. They're they give you the extra fiber, and they're prebiotics. So that's like a win-win. If your gut is like, hey, I need that sugar, just reach for the apple, get a banana, get oats. Actually, you can do oats. Oats are really good. Nuts are really good. If your gut is like, hey, I need something else. But then there's one other reason for why we consume a little bit too much sugar. And this one, when I read about it, made sense, but at first it didn't. So one of the reasons is we eat too much alternative sugars. And so that's why we crave real sugar. So in our bodies, right, we have receptors for sugars, right? Well, I mean, we have receptors for sweetness, but it's not specific to sugar, right? So the receptors get activated whenever there's that sweetness in our, we sense sweetness. But the thing is, it was designed for the sugar, because when our bodies take in sugar, right, our brain says, okay, we got some sugar. All right, now pancreas, go ahead and make that insulin. Go get that sugar, from the bloodstream. Go ahead and put it into the muscles. Open them up with the, insulin. Open up those muscles so we can get the fuel that we need. Yeah. That's the natural process. But when we have artificial sweeteners, our brain says, oh, sweetness. Okay, go ahead, pancreas. Go ahead and release that insulin. Go grab the sugar from the blood. The body's like, well, that's what we went to do, but there wasn't sugar.
So you said that's what we went to do, but
it wasn't sugar.
It was empty.
That wasn't sugar. We were looking for the sugar, but it wasn't sugar. So the brain says,
we got catfished.
That's weird, because I just got a signal that there was sweetness, so it has to be sugar. You know what? Get more insulin. We need more insulin. So then it's like, no, we don't need more insulin. Our sugar's going low, right? Because we have all this insulin trying to pull, and there's not real sugar. It's the artificial sugars we're taking. So then your body's like, you need sugar because you got all this insulin taking up what we don't have. There's no sugar right now. It's the artificial sweetener. So the body's like, go get more sugar, or my blood sugar is going to keep dropping. And so people do risk hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, when you're taking too much artificial sweeteners, because your receptors are not specific to sugar, but it still sends the same chemical messengers to do the same thing. But when they go searching for it, it's not there. And so it's like, well, get more sugar. And so that's why some people are addicted to like Diet Coke, I think, has the artificial sweeteners in it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because it's like, I want the sweetness. I want that feeling. I like it. But then it's like, go get more. get more because
That does make sense. Yeah, that does make sense. Makes a lot
yeah,
of
because I'm like, because too much artificial. But then when I thought about it, I was like, you're right. Your receptors aren't specific to sugar. It's just the sense, the taste of sweetness. And so it does what it's naturally supposed to do. And it sends out all those
It's like
messages.
we're starting a process. We're getting
Yeah, but it's like,
going.
wait a second, there's nothing here. There is no sugar. It's this other stuff. Well, go get more, go get more. So that's just that cycle of why we eat more sugar, because we have the alternative sugars, but our brain is like, I've got all this insulin pumping in you. Your blood glucose is going down. Go get you some real sugar. Get some more sugar. Now, because it's so low, you got to you know what I mean? Like so it's that cycle of trying to catch.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes all the sense in the world.
That was what I had to say about sugar. And some of the reasons. So stress, exhaustion, the gut theory, and too much of the artificial sweeteners. And
Nice.
so, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I learned a thing today, you know, which is cool. Yeah, thank you for that. So what's the homework?
So this homework, it's gonna lead into next week's. So it's actually going to look at a nutrition label for one liquid in your house, like one drink that you have. And if you have any canned food, and you're going to tell me how much sugar is in that one serving, just one serving. Oh, maybe I should do one serving and the total container.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little math, just a little bit of math. Okay. And then we're gonna look at that and talk about it. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna put. Yep. All right. As well as, because there's also another, I have another resource about the different names for sugars that you will find on labels, right? So you have access to that too, to say, oh, okay, so I see here it says sugar, but these are sugars.
And so these are all of the sugars that are here. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's dangerous.
It is.
It's dangerous.
Scary, but you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. That's right. While we're doing the sugar detox, could you imagine? We should do a sugar detox one of these days in the group.
I think it would be a good idea.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna label week. Maybe the following week we can talk about the gut flora.
Nice. Yeah, because I feel like each of those points that you talked about deserves kind of its own little
segment. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could make a little sugar series.
Oh, that's true. We could, right? Leading up to another holiday, you know.
Yeah, word. Yeah, because there's another holiday right around the corner that is all about cookies and milk. Let's not play.
Seriously.
You know what I'm saying? Let's not play. All right.
But yeah, a good talk.
Cool. All right. So so I like to start to put these things on YouTube Live. I think it's cool because we get to just kind of like pack the information, and also the folks in the Dollar Growth Club, you know, can have their homework. They'll have the access and all that stuff. And I know you'll put that, and I'll post this link into the Dollar Growth Club for folks who are watching it on the replay and aren't watching this live. And if you're on YouTube and you haven't joined the Dollar Growth Club, please do. I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the description. Like Dr. Ness said, it's less than $1 right now. So this is a good time to do it. I mean, it's really on sale. And so, you know, do it before it starts creeping back up, because it will creep back up slowly over the next month. And then, you know, in the new year, it's going to be a whole different price. So
and I'm telling, like, literally, they get coaching 5 days a week. They get yoga and meditation 5 days a week. They get an awesome community, right? They get support. You know what I mean? Like for $1 a day.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit insane, right? Because you think like easily that value, even for one day, right, is I would put it up there with like $500 a day at least. That it would be worth, right? When we think about what each of us, each of the coaches, right, that we charge just kind of on an individual basis, and then put that, like it to me, it's a no-brainer, you know?
Right.
But yeah, anyway, join if you're not already a part of the Dollar Growth Club community. And those of you who are in the Dollar Growth Club, do the homework. There
That's right.
There
Because
we
it's
go.
going.
There we go. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'll see